What most people don't realize is that we're witnessing the collision between divine promise and modern political tensions in real time. The parallels between Ezekiel's visions and current events in Israel are becoming impossible to ignore. Even Jesus' enigmatic silence in Matthew 24 about future destruction takes on new meaning when we examine what's happening right now on that sacred mount. The echoes of ancient prophecies are reverberating through the stones of Jerusalem today. Right now, as you're watching this, something extraordinary is unfolding on the Temple Mount that could change everything we thought we knew about biblical prophecy. The memory of Solomon's temple haunts every prayer whispered at the Western Wall, and the enigma of the Third Temple grows more compelling with each passing day. But here's the question that should keep us all awake at night. Are we looking at historical coincidence, or are we witnessing the inevitable fulfillment of a prophetic timeline that was set in motion thousands of years ago? If you're as intrigued by these mysteries as I am, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell, because we're about to dive deep into revelations that most people completely miss. The Temple Mount isn't just a religious site. It's the place where history and eternity collide with devastating force. What the majority of people ignore about the true location of the temple, according to Josephus and modern archaeologists, reveals a hidden flaw in every political plan. The Roman historian Josephus described the temple's exact position in ways that challenge our modern assumptions. Recent archaeological discoveries using ground-penetrating radar have uncovered structures that don't align with conventional wisdom. The question isn't just where the temple stood, but who really holds authority over this mount today. There's an invisible tension that most media won't touch: the intersection of Jewish faith, Islamic tradition, and Christian expectation, all focused on this single piece of ground, smaller than a city block. Yet the practical consequences of events on this mount affect geopolitical decisions globally. World leaders make phone calls to Jerusalem before making moves in their own capitals. Think of the mount as a heart that pumps not blood, but the spiritual destiny of humanity itself. Every stone removed, every archaeological dig, every political statement sends ripples through three major world religions simultaneously. The Temple Mount serves as humanity's spiritual barometer, measuring the pressure between heaven and earth. The Islamic Waqf controls daily operations, but Israeli security controls access. Jewish prayer is restricted, yet the longing for the Third Temple burns brighter each year. Christians watch for signs while Muslims guard their holy sites. This isn't just religious tension, it's the convergence of three distinct theological timelines, all pointing toward the same geographical focal point. Ezekiel's vision of the Third Temple presents us with an initial mystery. Why would a prophet describe architectural measurements so precisely unless there was a purpose beyond symbolism? Chapter 40 through 48 of Ezekiel reads like a detailed blueprint, complete with measurements in cubits, room dimensions, and specific orientations. These aren't vague spiritual metaphors, they're construction documents. Throughout history, there have been attempts at reconstruction that have failed spectacularly. Emperor Julian the Apostate tried in 363 AD, only to see his workers flee when mysterious fires erupted from the ground. The Crusaders dreamed of rebuilding during their occupation. Modern movements like the Temple Institute have prepared priestly garments, temple vessels, and architectural plans, waiting for the moment when construction can begin. But here's the counterintuitive revelation: the Third Temple might not be merely physical, but fundamentally spiritual. Paul writes in Ephesians about believers being built together as a dwelling place for God through the Spirit. This concept of divine dwelling redefines our entire understanding of holiness in daily life. The temple becomes like a mirror, reflecting both God's glory and human rebellion simultaneously. When Solomon's temple was completed, the glory of God filled it so intensely that the priests couldn't minister. Yet the same building later became a den of thieves. The temple's spiritual significance transcends its physical stones. When we understand this dual nature, physical and spiritual, we realize that events in Jerusalem carry implications far beyond regional politics. Every news report from the Temple Mount should be read as both current events and prophetic commentary. The same location that witnessed Abraham's willingness to sacrifice Isaac, where David placed the ark, where Jesus cleansed the money changers, continues to serve as God's chosen stage for human history's climactic scenes. The common error people make is expecting spectacular signs, while the Bible often speaks in subtleties. Josephus recorded false signs before the destruction of 70 AD, warning us that what appears to be ordinary politics might actually be a prophetic trigger. False prophets claim to see chariots in the clouds and supernatural armies, yet they miss the real signs: political alliances shifting, Roman patience wearing thin, religious corruption increasing. The application here is crucial: learning to discern between historical noise and divine signals. It's like a silent earthquake that cracks foundations before any visible tremor appears. The signs are there for those who know how to read them. Biblical prophecy operates on both immediate and distant fulfillments, shadow and reality, type and antitype. Current events in Israel show patterns that mirror biblical descriptions. The gathering of nations around Jerusalem, the focus on the Temple Mount, the increase in both persecution and spiritual awakening among Jewish people, the technological capability to broadcast events globally, all these elements align with prophetic expectations. And if you're finding this perspective eye-opening, take a moment to leave a like and share your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one, and they help me understand what resonates with you most. Here's the mystery that haunts every biblical scholar. Why did Jesus declare that not one stone would be left upon another? This prophecy found literal fulfillment in 70 AD, when Roman legions demolished Herod's temple so thoroughly that they scraped the very foundations. Yet Jesus also spoke of raising the temple in 3 days, clearly referring to his resurrection body. The hidden error many make is expecting only ruins, forgetting that the promise involves restoration. Biblical prophecy often works in cycles: destruction and rebuilding, exile and return, judgment and mercy. Israel's modern restoration as a nation follows this pattern, and the temple's future reconstruction fits the same divine template. The paradox deepens when we realize that the rejection of the Messiah becomes the very foundation for the living temple. Jesus, the rejected cornerstone, becomes the basis upon which the spiritual temple is built. Every believer is called to be a living stone. As Peter writes in his first epistle, we're not waiting for a building, we're becoming the building. The temple becomes like a broken harp that will be tuned again to play the eternal melody. This isn't just theology, it's practical reality affecting how we live today. Our bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit. Our communities are living stones fitted together. Our worship is the incense rising from the altar of our hearts. What's often neglected is that the Mount isn't just religious, it's strategically military. Jerusalem sits at the crossroads between Europe, Asia, and Africa. Throughout history, empires have understood that controlling Jerusalem means controlling trade routes, cultural exchange, and spiritual influence. Alexander the Great made special provision for Jewish customs when he conquered the region. Roman emperors knew that trouble in Jerusalem could spark revolts across the empire. Wars and treaties have always bowed before this small mount. Napoleon reportedly wept when he saw Jerusalem from a distance, understanding that his dreams of Eastern conquest had failed. British General Allenby dismounted from his horse and walked through the gates on foot, recognizing the sacred nature of his conquest. Modern Israeli leaders know that decisions about the Temple Mount can trigger international incidents within hours. Here's the counterintuitive expectation: temporary peace might be a more dangerous sign than war itself. Biblical prophecy suggests that the Antichrist will make a covenant with many, allowing temple worship to resume before breaking that covenant and desecrating the holy place. Peace agreements might actually accelerate prophetic fulfillment rather than delay it. Christians need to understand the global implications of Jerusalem events, because they're not isolated incidents, they're pieces on a cosmic chessboard. Like an apparently useless chess piece that, at the right moment, decides the entire game. Every move in Jerusalem sets up counter-moves in world capitals. Every religious development triggers diplomatic responses across multiple continents. The Temple Mount functions as a prophetic clock, with each significant event marking another hour toward fulfillment. The 1967 reunification of Jerusalem brought the site under Jewish control for the first time in nearly 2 millennia. The Jewish people's return to their ancient homeland after 2,000 years of exile mirrors Ezekiel's vision of dry bones coming to life. These aren't coincidences, they're confirmations. This brings us to the ultimate spiritual dilemma: earthly temple or eternal temple. The fatal error is limiting God's presence to stones and structures. Solomon himself acknowledged that the highest heavens cannot contain God, much less a house made by human hands. Yet God chose to manifest his presence in specific locations for specific purposes. The mount is shadow, but the kingdom is reality. The physical temple points to spiritual truth, but the spiritual truth isn't limited by physical constraints. The daily application is profound living as carriers of the true temple, the Holy Spirit dwelling within us. It's like a flame that doesn't depend on the altar, but on the oil that feeds it. The flame can move, can multiply, can burn in countless hearts simultaneously. This transforms our understanding of sacred space. Everywhere becomes potential holy ground when inhabited by God's presence. Modern believers live in the tension between the already and the not yet. We are the temple, yet we await the temple. We have God's presence, yet we long for his full manifestation. We experience spiritual reality, yet we anticipate physical fulfillment. This tension isn't contradiction. It's the nature of living between Christ's first and second coming. The implications for daily living are profound. If we are living stones in God's temple, then our character matters as much as ancient temple regulations. If we carry God's presence, then our interactions become acts of worship. If we're part of the spiritual temple, then unity with other believers isn't optional, it's architectural necessity. As we conclude, let's recap the recent signs on the Temple Mount as echoes of ancient prophecies. Political developments, archaeological discoveries, religious tensions, and global focus all point toward the convergence of prophetic timelines. Jesus' warning in Matthew 24 emphasizes watching more than speculating. being ready more than being right about timing. The practical lesson: understand the temple not just as construction, but as calling. The final temple isn't only built in Jerusalem, it's constructed in human hearts prepared for eternity. Every stone of prophecy, every vision of Ezekiel, every word of Christ points to this ultimate reality. The question isn't when the third temple will be built, but whether we're allowing ourselves to become living stones in God's eternal dwelling place. Are we being shaped by the master builder? Are we allowing rough edges to be smoothed away? Are we fitting properly with other stones in the spiritual structure? What's happening in Jerusalem today is a call to spiritual awakening. The physical developments point to spiritual realities. The political tensions remind us of eternal kingdoms. The religious conflicts highlight our need for the Prince of Peace. Don't just watch the signs, prepare to be part of the fulfillment. Subscribe for more prophetic insights that connect ancient prophecies with current events. Hit that like button if this opened your eyes to something new. And comment below with your thoughts on how these ancient prophecies speak to our current moment. The stones are crying out, are you listening? The temple is rising, are you building?